Hello, welcome to Irresistible You. Ignite your passion and purpose. My name is Karen Seltz, and I am super excited about tonight's topic: how to create extraordinary results by learning how to pivot quickly. Now, I'm going to tell you a story about me. Um, for many, many years, I had struggled with financial abundance. And of course, there's like tons of layers to it. And at one point, I had literally $4 in my bank account. Four. No savings, no nothing. $4. And I just, I don't even know what it took to get to this point. So I'd love to like break it down for you. But I started to realize that I had a pattern of creating some financial abundance and then spending it all really, really quickly. And some of it was, yeah, bills, of course. And I think there was also like a feast or famine kind of mentality. Like, I better buy this now because I might not have the money later in the month. And so I would overbuy things. So even going to the grocery store, I might buy like four different vegetables, right, that are perishable, and then only eat two of them because I had money then, I better spend it. But then I would waste things. So this really interesting pattern kind of emerged of like that feast or famine. I better buy it now because who knows if I'll have money later. And one of the things that really occurred to me during this, like I have $4 in my bank account, was, oh my gosh, I'm so grateful that my account didn't go negative. I'm still in the black. And that was the first time that had ever happened for me, where I wasn't panicking, worrying about it going in the red. I was actually grateful that it hadn't, that it had stayed in the black. So I was really kind of practicing what I preach now, like focusing on what I wanted, because I'll say it over and over. All the cool people say this, like what you focus on expands. What you notice appreciates, whether you appreciate it or not. So if you're noticing that, oh, my account went in the red 2 years ago or whatever, and you're worrying about that, well, of course, you're going to attract more of that or more debt. Or the subconscious mind will say, oh, I want it to go in the red, so it'll like overspend or not plan ahead for expenses that are coming. So anyway, so that happened. So I'm like just noticing, like, wow, I'm so grateful my account stayed in the black. It didn't go negative. Woo-hoo! And I really took the time to celebrate it and to feel it. And then that led me to this thing where I knew, like, if I really thought about it, I am always taken care of. Always, always. Like, I was never without food ever, ever. I was never without electricity or, a house, all kinds of things, friends, a car, gas money, right? I always was provided for. And gifts came from the universe. Like, my stove stopped working. This is a very interesting story. My neighbor gave me money to buy a used stove, and I bought one, and it didn't work. But it had been in my car for like 2 weeks because I didn't have anyone to help me carry it in and replace it. And I went initially to this place of, after the people said, oh, we're not going to take it back, of how can I get revenge? And my mind went to like, oh, you don't know who you're messing with and all that stuff, but only for a few seconds. Now, this is monumental for me. Like, up until that point, like, somebody was going to pay. If they messed with me, they would pay. But I was in this space of, you know what? I am always taken care of. Always. Like, something good is happening. I will get a stove. Like, something's going to happen. And bless those people. Like, if they need the money that badly, like, bless them. And knowing that the money would come back to me in some way, it did not have to come from those people that sold me the stove. And not worrying like, oh, the universe will get them. Like, none of that. None of that was in my space anymore. I was coming from my heart, like, you know what? I can love them exactly as they are. And I don't need the money back from them. It's going to come to me. And once that happened, like, unbelievable things started shifting. Like, clients started coming to me. like I didn't go out seeking them. I wasn't, and up until that point, I was used to like making cold calls or calling people I knew, like, hey, this is what I'm up to. Do you know anybody who might be interested or who I could serve who's looking for this? But clients just started coming like out of nowhere. And within a week, I had created like as much as I had the entire month before. Like that, and at that point, think about $4 in the bank account. It was unbelievable. And so that celebration energy and that gratitude, and I know we hear about it, we're like, oh, what do I have to be grateful for? Well, think about it. If you have a roof over your head of any kind, even if you're staying on somebody's couch, like you're not on the street, you have a roof over your head. You have people that love you. Whether you're accepting that love, that's a whole nother story, right? But there's always something. And I don't know how to tell you to get to that point, but start practicing like with little tiny things. I mentioned my dog Lola, and you probably heard her toenails a minute ago because she likes to make an appearance. She's so lovely. But if I am in a bad mood, this dog always, always, always is ready to play. Always. And so, oops, she's looking at me because I said the P word, the PLAY word. So, but she's always ready. And it just reminds me like we can change our state in an instant. And if you don't believe me, let's play. Oops, I said it again. She's going to be over here in a minute jumping on me. So if somebody comes up behind you and you're not expecting it and they go, boo, like how quickly does your state change? It's like in an instant, yes? So one of the things that I take my clients through is we give lots of repetition to the unconscious mind about regulating the nervous system. And we anchor certain things in, like symbols. So imagine a time when you were the most relaxed you've ever been. Now, feel that in your body. Where do you feel that sense of relaxation? Allow that to move and spread throughout your entire body. And you can do that. And perhaps you've heard of the Heart Math Institute. Dr. Joe Dispenza works with them, like uses their research and some of their devices. And that's one of the big things that Dr. Joe teaches is heart-brain coherence. And there is like a second brain in your heart, and it informs us. And if your heart is dysregulated, meaning it's not beating coherently, it's kind of like if you're feeling anxiety or something, your heart is not regulated. Your heart is not in coherence. If you can focus your attention on your heart and maybe even put your hand on it and start to feel a time when you felt gratitude or you felt joy or you felt connected or loved or abundant, like something good just happened. You can just focus there for 30 seconds. And then maybe that 30 seconds grows to a minute. That will regulate your nervous system very quickly. If you do that enough times, your mind is going to get used to it. The subconscious mind learns from repetition. Now think about a dog or any animal, but I'm going to use a dog because I'm going to talk about tricks. All animals are all subconscious mind, meaning they don't have the ability to recall a time when they were jealous. Well, they don't get jealous. They don't have the ability to recall certain incidents, even traumatic ones, unless they happened repeatedly. Like if you kick a dog once, they probably aren't going to remember it. But if you do it repeatedly, then it gets into procedural memory, which is also how you teach a dog tricks, right? You repeat it over and over and over, and finally they get what rollover means. My dog hasn't gotten what speak means yet, but every time someone rings the doorbell, I try to reinforce it like speak. She just still hasn't gotten it. I digress. Anyway, zebras, dogs, they don't get ulcers because they don't have resentment. They don't remember things that happened forever ago or even a week ago and think that shouldn't have happened. They just don't do it. I don't remember what my point was. My buddy John, my podcast co-host, he says that means that I'm being very present in this moment, and whatever I was going to say is no longer relevant. So we're going to go with that. Let's put a positive spin on it. So we're talking about heart coherence, heart brain coherence. When your heart goes into coherence, when you feel love or gratitude or anything positive and you're focusing on your heart, then your brain goes into coherence. And what the heck does that mean? If you're a normal person who's not nerdy like me, probably have no clue what I'm talking about. So if you look at an EEG, so that's measuring the brain waves, and you look at the different sections of the brain, they all have their own different brainwave pattern. Mine's crazy like that. It goes in a spiral. You used to do that when you were a kid. So those brain waves, a lot of times, if you look at someone's EEG, they're like, and they're kind of clashing. That means the person is incoherent. Their heart's incoherent. And once their heart goes into coherence, it starts beating in a certain rhythm. The brain, the different sections of the brain synchronize. So the EEG will look like this, like all of the different sections of the brain, they're starting to communicate with one another. Instead of competing, they're cooperating. And that feels really good, really juicy. It feels good. And that would be like a parasympathetic nervous system response. Your body is like, oh, thank God. Oh, I can finally rest. I can repair myself. Your body, if you're in a stress response, if your body thinks or your mind thinks there's a predator, it's not a time to take on long-term building projects. If someone's attacking you, if your house is surrounded by a SWAT team, you're not going to get out the sandpaper and, start doing any maintenance or repairs. You're not. You're going to defend yourself or whatever. You're not going to repair the house. So why am I telling you all of this? Because it's important to be able to regulate your nervous system. And there's lots of different ways you can do it. One that I support people with is clearing out all the stuck data. So it comes from difficult or traumatic events. And you think about anytime you've experienced any of these things that were difficult or traumatic, big T, little t, you can recall with such great detail what happened. Like, what time of year was it? What time of day was it? What was the weather like? What were they wearing? What did it smell like? What did it feel like? What did it sound like? Like, all of that data is enlarged and it gets stuck in there. Now, it takes up a lot of energy because we are over 95% unconscious or subconscious mind. That's like an animal, right? That's how smart we are most of the time. And that part of the mind only thinks in the present tense. So it's constantly scanning the environment, searching for threats. And if you've gone through a lot of different traumatic or difficult experiences, you have a lot of data for it to find something that matches. Like, it's scanning millions of bits of information every second. And if you have a lot of these pieces of stuck data in there, it's going to find some matches. So it's scanning like, okay, does this remind me of anything I've experienced that was difficult or traumatic? And the moment it finds one, you will go into a sympathetic nervous system response, fight, flight, or freeze. That when that happens, you pretty much lose access to your logical brain. So, of course, if somebody triggers you at work or your partner gets you upset, you don't have access to logic, compassion, none of that. It all goes out the window. What do you have access to? A very strong jaw, so you can bite them, and strong limbs, so you can fight or run away. Not useful in almost any situation that you find yourself, unless you're, out somewhere and somebody's really chasing you, or you get into a fight, then none of that's serving you. Even if you do get into a fight, it's not really serving you because you also aren't smart. You lose access to your creativity. So thinking about ways to escape a predator, if it's a human predator, right? or an animal, whatever, maybe it's a bear. But you lose access to your creativity, your logic, your humor, your passion, your curiosity, your compassion, all that out the window. So it's really important to have some tools in your tool belt to be able to regulate your nervous system. And the less of these pieces of stuck data that you have, the less your mind is going to find when it does scans all the time. I had a conversation with somebody this week. I don't remember, it was a client, but what she was saying was exactly me in college. And when I was in college, now I grew up in a pretty chaotic environment, and I had older brothers, and I never knew what was going to happen. I never knew when I was going to get hit. I never knew what was coming at me. So when I was in college, mind you, college, right? I would go to the bar with my friends, and before I would order a drink, before I would dance, before I would do anything, I was like scanning the entire bar and looking for potential threats. Like anybody I saw that looked like they could potentially attack me. And I don't know what I based this on. I have no idea. I was like, okay, if that person attacks me, all right, and then looking for the exits. There's an exit there and there. And I had an exit strategy. I had an attack strategy, and then I had an exit strategy. So attack, like neutralize the predator and get the hell out of there. Now that's not normal, right? It's not a normal response. And nothing ever happened to me in any of those bars, ever. No one has ever attacked me in public. Like nobody, no strangers ever attacked me, ever. And probably I had an attitude like, you better not, you're going down. And I'm little, like I'm 5'3", if you don't know that I'm not a big person. So I'm just saying, like, it was completely unnecessary, but my mind didn't know that. And how much energy do you think it was using in this protection that was completely unnecessary? And that is what happens as we get older. We accrue more and more evidence of whatever we experienced when we were younger. And, you know, we can find it all day long, whatever we're looking for. I've said that a zillion times, but why not look for how you've been supported, how you've always been taken care of, how you've almost always or always had food and clothes and shelter. And if you really think about it, somebody who's been on your side. Almost always, maybe not in childhood for some of us. You know, I didn't feel that I had anybody in childhood who was really on my side. Now, if I look back, you know, my parents were protecting me. They were feeding me. They were clothing me. They were teaching me things like how to read and how to eat properly and, you know, good stuff like that, how to sing. But I didn't really see that until much later. I just saw like all the damage and what I didn't get. So that was my filter, and that's what I was looking for. So going back to how to flip it, no matter what you have been through, right now in this moment, are you safe? I mean, you might not be. You might not be. So find something, one thing that is working. And it might be like, you know what? No matter what I put up with from my partner, my best friend listens to me. She listens to me, and, you know, she might ask me to leave, or she might whatever, give me advice that I don't want, but she still listens. She listens, she hears me, she loves me. Even if she thinks I'm stupid, she loves me, right? And you're not stupid. You're not. Even if you're putting up with something that you wish you weren't, you are not stupid. The subconscious mind is wired for more of the same. And as long as what you're experiencing right now has not killed you, that's all the subconscious mind cares about. Number one, that's the number one prime directive, is to keep you alive. So if you're experiencing something that's unpleasant, but it hasn't killed you, your mind will tell you, you better stay here, because if you left, you could die. And then once you're safe and your basic needs are taken care of, the second directive is to thrive. But if that's not happening, the mind is only concerned about survival, and it's going to keep like producing these chemicals to keep you safe and to keep you in fight or flight. So I hate to talk about gratitude because I think it's overdone in a way, but really start small. Start small and then feel it. Feel it in your heart and let that expand throughout your body. A time when you were calm, a time when you felt good or happy or joyful, or you accomplished something and you just felt like, I can do this. A time when you were aware of who you really are, the light within you, because it's always there. It's just our perception of it changes. In rapid resolution therapy, we talk about the sun, and we say the sun weighs as much at midnight as it does at noon. Yet we're not aware of its brightness at midnight because we can't see it. And it's the same with us. Like, our light is always just as bright, whether we're looking at it or not, whether we can see it or our awareness is somewhere else. So I just want to remind you that you have this light within you that is so bright, and you have a mission and a calling. And I invite you to look for ways that you are using it. You are making people happy or serving, like improving the quality of something or somebody's life. Whether you're working on, technology, computers, or with people, you have the ability to make a difference, and you can do it everywhere you go. And one thing is just focusing on your heart and feeling love for someone or something that's easy to love. That's how I start. And if you're kind of like, oh, I'm mad at all people right now, focus on a pet, or even a deceased pet or a deceased loved one. If you can feel love for them in your heart, and then allow that to expand out to your entire house, and then the whole neighborhood, and then the whole state and the country and the world. And when you get in that love bubble, people are going to feel it. And it feels so good. I promise you they're going to feel it. So think about somebody maybe that lives far away, and just send them a little love, like, oh, just sending you, like holding you in my love bubble. So right now I'll think about my daughter who's in college, 1,700 miles away. Okay. Send her some love. And I know, based on everything, all the science, everything I've experienced, I know she's going to feel it. And she might not know what it is, but she's going to have this little boost of, oh, I feel really good for some reason. So try that, play with it. And when you are in that frequency, when you are extending love, you can't help but feel good about yourself. And another thing, I know this might be off topic, but when I get into a bad mood, sometimes what I do is I'm like, okay, I got to get out of my shitty diaper. So I'm like sitting in this, like I'm all dug in and feeling sorry for myself. I'll just drop into my heart. I'm like, okay, who would benefit from a call from me? And somebody will drop in. And then I just call that person, like, hey, you were really on my heart and mind. How you doing? And they're like, oh, thank God you called. I was like really in a bad place. And usually they're experiencing like something similar to what I'm struggling with. And by me being able to serve them and hear them and just be with them, their mood goes up, mine goes up, and then we're both good. So it doesn't have to be incoming. Like, somebody doesn't have to pour into you to have you feel better. If you're giving to someone else and extending your love, even if you don't feel like you have it, just try it. Just give it a try and let me know. I would love it if you commented and let me know that you're trying this stuff and if it made a difference for you, because I suffered from clinical depression for many, many years. And I never thought that I could do something like that if I was in that spot. I always was like acting. And if I didn't have enough energy to act like I was good, I wouldn't call anybody. I would just isolate. And isolating causes depression. It kind of like feeds it. It's like food, like it's its favorite food or fuel, whatever you want to call it. But isolation causes and fuels depression. It just like keeps it going. Connection is poison to depression. So get connected to people and feel the abundance that's all around you, the love that's all around you. I know we just had an election in the United States a couple of days ago, and there's a lot of stuff going around. And my invitation is to tap into the humanness that we all are and know that every single person is doing the best they can based on what they believe is right. And it might not be what you believe. And we all have friends, I believe, of different political affiliations. So you love those people. So can you extend that out to loving humans, human beings? These are human beings. And I was talking to somebody, they're all a reflection of you in some way. And oh, I went on a tangent here, but here's the thing, like when you can see that they are innocent, that they are doing the best they can, then you're going to feel so much love for yourself. And there's nothing like that. And from that place, what do you think you're going to create? As opposed to like thinking everybody is wrong and thinking like hateful or disapproving thoughts or judgmental thoughts. What do you think you'll create from that place? It's not, we called it in 12-step resentment is like you drinking the poison and expecting the person you're angry at to die. Because when you are resentful or angry or disappointed, judgmental, you are drinking poison, and it is poisonous for your mind and your body. So focus on your heart. Focus on the love that is always there. It is always within you, whether you're aware of it or not. The sun weighs the same at midnight as it does at noon. And then focus on who's easy to love. And then you can extend that out further and further to even your opposite political people, whatever, the other parties or whoever, right? So do your best to focus on love and on your heart and see what happens. Like life can change dramatically in a moment, And guess what the byproduct is? Happiness, joy, peace, good health, abundance, like people being attracted to you, opportunities coming up. And it's all so good. And it doesn't have to be like the little tiny thing. If you've been focusing on something that you don't like, forget about it. Focusing on what you don't like will just bring more of it to you. You're giving your order to the universe and to God, like, bring me more of that. I'm going to focus on that. I'm going to focus on how everyone's wrong and whatever. And you'll just get more of it. So focus on what's right in front of you, what's right within you, what's right with the world, and how everybody has that same amount of love within them. Everybody is just as lovable as you. Everybody's just as lovable. Democrat, Republican, Independent, Green. Can't remember how many parties there were. And we are all one, and we are all lovable. So, having said that, I love you so much. I love you. You are lovable. You are loved always and forever. Thank you so much for watching. I will see you right here next week.